Hey, what's up, guys? This is Dave Van Auken back again on the Fight Bananas podcast, but I am here with two special people. I'm actually on the road right now. I am in Tennessee. Two favorite cousins in the whole planet. I got Ella and Eli. How you guys doing?
Hi.
Hola.
There you go. I'm telling you, we're having so much fun. We're eating a lot of food, a lot of ice cream. We've had a good day, right?
Yeah, and water.
I love ice cream.
We are. We're drinking a lot of water, but we have a packed show for you guys. We recorded a great podcast with one of our favorite fighters, Samantha Seff. She's coming on the podcast right now. You guys ready for it? You guys excited?
Yeah.
There you go. They're excited. We're excited. Here we go on another edition of the Fight Bananas podcast.
Hey guys, the Fight Bananas podcast is supported by Daniel Martinez, the law offices of Daniel Martinez. I solve problems. Guys, give him a call at any time at 877-5-RIGHTS. That's 877-5-RIGHTS. Or check out the website at martinez.law. Daniel Martinez, the law offices of Daniel Martinez, in your corner. 877-5-RIGHTS. Also, check out Fusion CBD products. Check out the website at fusioncbdproducts.com. Guys, you know I drink the waters. 6-pack for $19.50. It's an incredible deal. Also, lately, I've been using the instant CBD Instant Rub. There's a relief rub and also a CBD cream and muscle for joint pain. Guys, make sure you go to fusioncbdproducts.com right now. Hit them up on Instagram at fusioncbd and check out the website at fusioncbdproducts.com. All right, guys, here we go on the Fight Bananas podcast. Someone we've been watching from afar for a minute. Samantha Seff, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We've been following your amateur career. You always fought. That's one thing we always loved about you. We'll always see you very active, fought, the toughest girls out there. Now, finally a pro. We know it didn't go your way on Halloween, but how do you feel to kind of, hey, I'm a professional female fighter right now?
This has been like a dream of mine since I was about 13, 14. So as disappointed as I was to not get the decision, just the fact that I'm like, okay, I'm not hurt. I'm ready to go again. I want to fight like next week if I can.
I love it. Love it. And that's one reason why we do. You want to be active. You have that just that it thing about a fighter. We love it. Chimaev is doing it when Cowboy Cerrone was in his prime, and you have that on the female side. Where did you get that? Is it just where do you get your activeness, and where you just want to keep on fighting and fighting?
I've been really competitive at anything I've ever done. So even like growing up, I excelled in school, not because I particularly liked school, but I was like, no, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to be the best at it. So I kind of throw myself into everything I do full force, which isn't a bad quality to have, but it's also, like I'm constantly busy 24/7.
Yeah.
But you only have like one life on this earth. You're only young one time. I might as well get everything I can out of it. So I already have like a super intense ADCC rules competition in 2 weeks that I'm starting to prepare for, so I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, I saw that. I was going to actually call that out. I saw that on your Instagram page, Wolf Queen MMA. So that's really awesome. That's really cool. You really are. You don't talk about it. You're actually you do it. You want to be active. You already have something on the books. Okay, there's so many things I want to go back to the time thing. Yeah, I'm so with you on that. It's I don't understand. I don't know what spare time is. Like, I just don't get that concept. People love to just relax and hang out on a Sunday. I just can't do that. I don't have that in my body, and it feels like you're the same way. How quickly do you want to get back in training? You fought Saturday. Are you going back in there this week already?
Oh yeah, I'm going back in training in this week. I honestly would have been back in there today. But towards the very tail end of that weight cut, you probably heard in my voice, I had like a little bit of a cold. So I'm like, oh man, like that's the only reason I'm not going in to train. I want to like give my body a chance to not, give that cold to anybody else and make sure that's okay. But I'll be back in there this week because luckily, like any fight, you want to leave uninjured. And almost like right after the fight, I was like, nah, I feel really good. Like I'm ready to start another camp.
Right. And like I said, so we've been following your amateur career. You've had some legit tough fights that the girls that you fought have turned professional. They've been victorious so far as professionals. So if you fought, tough ass girls, I always say that all the time. Sometimes I love when fighters stack up their amateur career, because then your first 2, 3, 4 even pro fights will be even almost a less of a challenge than some of your amateur fights. Was that for you? Like I know you fought Shelby Corin at a Combat Night main event. I know you've had some really tough fights. How did you feel in there as a professional? Was it a big jump, or was it no? I've been in there before like that.
Yeah, it was definitely the second. I'm really lucky that I have such good coaches that's exactly how they wanted it. Like for the longest time, people were like, when's she going to go pro? When's she going to go pro? And my coaches were like, no, like we're preparing for this so that when she does go pro, it's not that big a deal. And even my fight that I just had, I felt the best going into the third round than I did like all the other rounds, because I trained for that. I always train 5-minute rounds, like multiple rounds. They even said that I actually have to get a quicker jump on things because I always train like championship rounds, like 5-minute rounds.
Wow.
And my last like 2 or 3 are always my best. So they told me like, hey, it's not like championship rounds. Like you got to get out there and actually start out like it's championship rounds. So I was really lucky in that aspect that my coaches prepared me for that. And then even at amateur, I fought pretty much whatever weight class I can get. So I kept fighting up at 115, even though I'm a true 105er. So fighting at 105 is like, I'm like, oh man, like it's so much lighter than what I'm used to.
Right. And with knowing that, and I saw that of yourself, there's not a 105 in, I don't know if this is the end goal for you, but in the UFC, it just seems that's the, they're the on top of the MMA world. Is that the goal for you first and foremost? Is it the UFC?
Oh yeah, it definitely is. And I'm trying to make, I think I've done a good job with fights, whether I win or lose. Like they've always been exciting. I always get people that were like, man, that was such a good fight, because nobody goes to a fight like at that, people want to see a fight, but at the end of the day, people want to be entertained. It's an entertainment sport from like way back in the day, back in like the Spartan days, the arenas, like people just go to get entertained. They want to see something exciting. So I don't want to go there and put on like a boring match. I always try to give it my all. So I'm hoping that, people will see like, man, this is kind of a draw. For the longest time, people thought female fighters weren't a draw, or they thought lightweight fighters weren't a draw. And I think as the fight careers get more advanced and there's more and more people fighting, people are realizing that there's so much excitement to be had with female athletes, with lighter weight athletes, with people who just go out there and are willing to like put everything on the line. And that's me. Like I'm willing to put like everything out there, because I just want people at the end of the day to like know who I am, to be like, man, that was a good fight. I want to see that again. I think they were actually like chanting like one more round after the last fight.
Oh, that's insane. That's awesome, guys. We're talking with Samantha Seff, guys. I love that. I'm with you. Probably my favorite male fighters, Georgie Masvidal. My favorite female fighters, probably Jillian the Savage Robertson. You guys have a little bit of I feel like you definitely, both of you guys want to try to get the neck. We'll talk about that in a second. But where I'm going with it is, if I had one last fight, if they said, hey, Dave, you have to watch one last fight, it's the last thing you're ever going to do, who are you going to pick? Who's it going to be? My money's on Thug Rose. Like, Rose Namajunas is my favorite fighter to watch. She brings it. I know she brings it. She goes for the kill. She's the most exciting fighter. I'm just an absolute huge Thug Rose fan. How about yourself?
Actually, it's funny that you say that, because I studied Thug Rose a lot.
There you
and
go.
I think she actually improved a lot of my fighting game, because for the longest time I was always just tough, but like we joke about it that I won so many of like my first few fights by just being like going forward and I didn't really care if I got hit. But then I was watching Thug Rose, and she does really, really good about keeping her guard up and like constantly moving, and it turns out like I do a lot better at fights when I keep my guard up and not taking unnecessary shots.
Right.
So I was studying a lot of her fight videos. But, I'm always a big fan of, I have 2 friends who are in the UFC, Hannah Cyphers and Miranda Maverick, that I get to train with a lot. So I'm always going to be a huge fan of theirs. So I'll always support them and watch them. And like, if people ask me my favorite female fighters, I'm always going to shout out my friends. And then as far as male fighters, like you, I like Jorge Masvidal a lot, just because he's, entertaining and talented. And he's from Miami, which is where I grew up. But I'm also a huge fan of Cowboy Cerrone, to the point where I met him in person one time and I don't think I uttered like 2 words. I totally froze.
Oh my goodness, I love it. Okay, so wait, you're from I didn't know that you were a Florida. I know, so you're in North Carolina, right, training?
Yep.
Okay, and then so how did that transition from Florida, Miami down south, to North Carolina happen?
So I went to Florida State for college.
Oh,
and
okay.
When I ended up going to college, I was there on a full ride because I just excelled in school again, just because of the competitive mindset. And I always wanted to fight. And while I was in college, my parents ended up moving to North Carolina. And then I'm actually a triplet, and I found out one of my brothers, I think it was like my junior year of college, started training at a jiu-jitsu school. And I was so jealous. Like, I was really mad. So I was planning on moving back down to South Florida after I graduated. And I think like the week I was graduating, I was just like, you know what? I'm coming up to North Carolina. Didn't even have a place to live. Crashed with my parents for a little bit. And I graduated on a Friday, and I started training that Monday. And I just kind of never looked back. I was like, yeah, I want to do this.
Gosh, I love this story. I love it. Samantha, okay, back up a little bit. We have an 8-year-old boy, a 3-year-old boy, and, you know, my wife, and for one, the wife always is right and always wins, and she wanted, you know, we want one more kid. Okay, one more kid. And we wanted to try for a girl. That one kid became 2 kids. We had twin girls on New Year's Eve. And we're drowning, and we're like every day, all we do is just like try to feed them, bathe them, and not drown. You know what I mean? That's all we do. You're a part of a triplet. You have 2 brothers,
Yep.
or a brother and a sister?
I have 2 brothers, and they're like my favorite people. I'm so close with my brothers.
Gosh, wow, yeah. Tell me about that. How did that growing up? Sounds like that your brother transitioned you into jiu-jitsu, right? Can I say that?
Yeah, but
Okay.
It's actually funny because that brother, he's so non-competitive. Like, he's the
Right.
sweetest person. He'll help, like, little old ladies across the street. Like, never wanted to compete. Ended up fighting a few times just because somebody was like, yeah, you should fight. I'm signing you up. And my brother can't say no. Like, he's just like, okay. Like, we're so opposite personality-wise. But he did kind of help me get, like, started in that. And then he would always tell people, like, no, sign Samantha up. She's the one that wants to do it. So we're both brown belts in jiu-jitsu. He actually has a couple stripes ahead of me because he started about 1.5 years before me. But we're very different in the fact that I'm like, competition every weekend. Let's go. Let's kill some people. And he's like, let's save the world. Let's, be nice. And he's actually a police officer locally because all he wants to do is help people. My other brother is a professional artist in Savannah. He got all the talent in the family, and he actually paints a lot of like MMA and jiu-jitsu stuff because he's like fascinated with like the human form and the body. So whereas different personality wise as can be, but we're so close. And they actually came to my fight on Saturday. It was the first time we had everybody together at one of my fights. They've all seen me fight before, just
Right.
separately, so that was really cool.
Dude, this is awesome. Samantha, if you can, I would love to set up one time talking to all 3 of you guys. Like, we can, if we can ever do that, even it's 2020, like we can do it through Zoom or something, and just have the whole Seff family conversation about mixed martial arts. That'd be insane. It'd be bananas,
Oh, you would laugh so hard about how different our personalities are.
Love
but
it.
it's really cool. Like,
Yeah.
my one brother who did jiu-jitsu, he's also like jacked. Like, he's like the second strongest person in the country for his weight class. That's just like his focus. But he doesn't compete in that either because he just hates competition. And then my other brother does art shows on like jiu-jitsu and human types. He's actually painted my partner before in this huge mural that sometimes we get messages about, like, hey, I saw this giant painting of you in Savannah.
God, that is awesome. I'm blown away right now. Like, I had like, UFC questions, and I'm just like, this is great. All right, so you have something in 2 weeks. Can you give out more information on that? And it's like a tournament style grappling match, right?
Yeah, it's ADCC rules, no gi, and I got my attention brought to because everybody knows I love to compete, and I'll try to compete as often as possible. So I just got tagged in it by a bunch of different people that were looking for brown and black belt competitors under 135. I got tagged in it like 6 times, and I was like, hell yeah, I want to do this. I just have to make sure I didn't have any fights coming up. And then finally, like, the deadline was approaching, and I was like, I'm throwing my name down anyway. And if I have a fight, because I hate backing out of anything.
Right.
I've only ever had to back out one time, and it was because I got a contract for a fight, and I felt terrible. But I'll never like pull out of stuff. I love competing way too much. So I signed up for that, and I'm so excited. I'm really looking forward to that because there's been so few jiu-jitsu competitions for the year because everything got shut down.
Sure.
I like competed a week before the lockdown even happened, before like they made everything illegal. So I'm really excited for that, and it's in Knoxville, Tennessee.
That's awesome. Very cool. Okay, so I got two kind of personal questions for you and then two UFC questions, and then we'll kind of roll out. Love talking to you. This is the Wolf Queen, Samantha Seff. For one, if money, regardless, just say if I say, hey, Samantha, I'm going to give you $300,000 a year, so money's not an issue, all of that. If you had to be strictly a mixed martial artist, fight in and trying to get into the UFC, or you would become a grappler. We'll get you in submission undergrounds. You would just do jiu-jitsu tournaments. If you had to choose one or the other, what would it be?
Fighting. I like
okay.
punching way too much.
Okay. Because, I saw, when I knew we were talking, I saw one of your fights, and you're fighting this super tall girl. She had, great length on you. Yeah, she's jabbing you and all this. And then as soon as, I honestly, in this one, I didn't know who won this fight. I'm just watching all of your fights. And as soon as you grabbed her, I'm like, oh, I bet you she gets a rear naked choke, and I swear 20 seconds, 15 seconds later, you had her neck and she was tapping out. So I was like, God, your transitions are insane. Your grappling's insane. Your ground game is just phenomenal. Phenomenal stuff. So second question for you, and kind of you mentioned it during the, pre-lockdown. What has 2020, what has it taught you? What has been the lesson that maybe you've learned or something you have adapted yourself during this crazy time of 2020?
Dude, this year has been so full of such highs and such lows. It started off wins, and then lockdowns, and it's just been crazy. The only thing that I can really gather from 2020 is, just keep pushing. Everybody is going through such hard situations, but the one thing we can control is how we respond. I can't control anything that happens around me. You just can't. But I can control how I respond, and no matter how hard things are getting, because I've had some really hard times, especially during this camp. I got rear-ended, I dislocated my scapula, all this stuff was happening. I was like, man, I'm just, I woke up today and Jocko has a whole podcast on you're in pain, good, it means you're alive. So even when my heart was hurting or my body was hurting, I was like, I'm alive, I'm here for another day, I'm gonna make it count. Any day that I'm here, I'm gonna make it count, because the days they feel long as they're happening, but then you look back, it's so fast. So I'm like, you know what, just keep going, just keep pushing. And that's probably the number one thing I picked up from 2020. Because if I can keep pushing and keep going through everything that I'm going through, there's nothing I can't make it through tomorrow.
Right. No, I love it. That's a great lesson. And I know you listened to that podcast after you listened to Fight Bananas podcast, right? Am I easy to say that?
Of course. I travel a lot, obviously.
Awesome.
So the podcasts are my jam. I love listening to podcasts.
Oh, it's 24/7 for me. Even sometimes I'm taking care of the kids, and I got one of the AirPods in my ear. I'm listening to Anik and Florian. I'm definitely staying upbeat. So, all right. So here are two UFC questions. There's two big female championship bouts throughout the end of the year. I love your pick. First is the Valentina Shevchenko versus Jennifer Maia fight. Who do you have winning that?
Oh man, Shevchenko, just because she knows what she excels at. She knows what she needs to work on. So her takedown defense is one of the best takedown defenses in the league. To me, that's a smart fighter with good fight IQ. It's what your game is. You don't try to play anybody else's game. You just try to, whatever you do, you work to get back to your game. That's something that I'm really trying to work on too, is never to play their game. Even in this last fight, my stand-up was doing really well, but I should have kept powering forward and started working my clinch game. And that's something that Valentina, she really trains her fight IQ to get it to exactly where she wants the fight to go.
No, for sure. And before I ask you the second one, I'm so with you on that. I'm going to mention Khabib and Gaethje. And for one, so many people, and I talked to so many people in the media and fighters, and it blew me away how many people had Gaethje going into this fight. I'm like, guys, Khabib, he's 28-0. He's never lost. I'm going with Khabib until he loses, and then we can, take it from there. And I felt the same way, and I watched it, and I talked, I heard Phil Rowe, UFC fighter Phil Rowe from Orlando say this. So many fighters, Gaethje seemed like he was playing defense. Gaethje was hey, I don't want to get taken down. Hey, I'm going to do this. Instead of just hey, I'm going to go and try to kick and punch you as hard as I can, and if you get me down, you get me down, but I'm going to go out doing what I do. You can't win fights playing defense. You got to be you at the end of the day. That's just my 2 cents.
Exactly. It's fight IQ. The best fighters are so intellectual when it comes to that.
Fight IQ and I think pace, like slash cardio, are probably the two most underrated things of all the sport. There's so much technique and jabs and ground game, but you got to be smart and have that cardio. That's 80% of the game. It's just so underrated, I think. Okay, so last female UFC championship question. Big fight in December. To me, the greatest female fighter of all time, Amanda Nunes, fighting Megan Anderson. Love your take. Are we going to see a shocking upset, or does Amanda keep it rolling?
Man, like you said, Amanda Nunes, she's the greatest female fighter of all time because she just has multiple fights in multiple different divisions. The only one that I think you could even speak in the same breath as her would be Holly Holmes, who has like championships in MMA, kickboxing, and boxing. And even, Holly felt Amanda Nunes' power.
Right.
It's just, she's just a phenom athlete. Like, she's so good wherever it needs to go, stand up ground. And she's just somebody who, like, she just has it. She's done stuff that no other female in the division has done before. And her fight against Cyborg, when everybody was like, oh, this is where everybody's going to see that Amanda Nunes is just like a hype train. And oh my God, that fight, like, I could like replay that whole fight in my head. Mm-hmm. She's just amazing. Plus, like, I like her as a person too. Every single post-fight speech she gives, she immediately just thanks everybody on her team and makes sure that they get the credit they deserve. And I'm like, man, that's somebody who knows that, she's as good as she is because of the people around her.
Yeah, 100%. She's so respectful also to her fighter, like who she fights against, her opponents. She was so respectful to Felicia Spencer. And, I'm kind of doubling down with you with Amanda. I just put out my top 5 greatest fighters of all time, and I had Amanda in the list. And some people were kind of like, really? I'm like, dude, she's so far away the greatest female fighter ever. Like you mentioned Holly Holm. Yeah, she beat Holly Holm. You can throw out Cyborg. She beat Cyborg. Of course, you can kind of throw out the Ronda Rousey effect at the beginning, and she beat Ronda Rousey. Like any fighter you think is in, Misha Tate's an all-timer. She beat Misha. Valentina twice. Like, she is incredible. I think there's just no close second. She's definitely in her own stratosphere, and I can't wait. Cannot wait to watch her. I can't wait to watch you, Samantha, back in the cage. The platform's yours. Any kind of sponsors or social media plugs or your team, anything you want, platform's yours. Take it away.
Yeah, I will say that that by far and away was not anywhere close to what I can accomplish. Like, I'm so ready to get back in there to do everything I need to do. People will tell you, like, there's nobody around that will work harder than me. It's something that I believe in hard work. I don't ever believe in coasting. So I make sure, like, I train so many different disciplines to be the best that I can be. The biggest thing that I need to conquer is getting my mentality where I need it to go, to believe in everything that I can do, because 100%, like, I know once I reach that level, like, there's nothing anybody else can bring to me that would catch me by surprise, because I just train too much everywhere. So I'm going to really work on pulling the trigger a little bit quicker and a little bit earlier, so that people can see, like, man, she puts on, like, textbook highlight reel finishes. This is the exact person we want representing us. Plus, when it comes to doing good, like, I really try to advocate for everybody out there and make sure that I'm using my platform to the highest potential that it can be. So instead of just coasting by on just doing different fights and staying quiet about stuff, like, I'll always be the person that speaks up for people and make sure that if I'm getting recognition, it's for a reason. So I try to use that to the best of my ability as well. And I'm just excited to get out there. Anybody who wants to follow my journey on Facebook at The Wolf Queen or on Instagram at Wolf Queen MMA, like, I'm constantly posting about different things that I'm doing in my journey to get better and to make everyone around me take notice.
No, that's awesome, Samantha. Like I said, we really have. I've been watching you from afar for at least over 20 months now, and all your amateur fights. I was so happy you're turning pro, and I'm so excited for you in the future. I'm so happy we connected and got on the podcast, and I can't wait to do it again one day. All right?
Me too, and I can't wait to load up on all the podcasts during. I do have like a 6-hour trip to Knoxville, Tennessee in 2 weeks, so I'm going to get plenty of podcast action in then.
Oh, there you go. We just had UFC fighter Brandon Allen on, and honestly, one of the best ones I've ever had. I just had Reggie Barnett. He's a bare knuckle FC fighter, and he was just so.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah. He was amazing. Like, he was so passionate, hungry. Like, sometimes some interviews go better than others. That's just that's the game. That's life. He was phenomenal. It's easily one of my favorites of all time. But yeah, go in the archives. Roy Jones Jr., John Anik, our girl Jillian Savage Robertson. We're really cool. We're really blessed, and we're just working. We're just grinders, and we'll just get shit done.
Exactly, just grinders, and that's my favorite kind of work ethic.
Awesome, Samantha. Thank you so much. We appreciate you and your time. We'll talk soon. All right.
Thank you so much for having me.